folk wisdom suggests that opposites attract, and sometimes they do. But our relationships with others aren't always that predictable.
Why do we need a revolution?
You have this huge percentage of the population who are subtly discounted for something that goes to the core of who they are.
Cain says there's some history behind that.
You talk about moving from a culture of character to personality.
Yeah, the culture of character was in the 19th century when we lived in small towns alongside people that you'd pretty much known all your life. And so people could judge each other in terms of who the other person really was. But then in the 20th century, when you had industrialization and people moving out into the cities, and suddenly they're living alongside strangers who they needed to impress really quickly, what became important was what kind of a first impression do you make?
You're all soggy.
While all couples have their ups and downs, for Randy, their problems seemed insurmountable.
I felt sort of exhausted from just being in a relationship.
Being in a relationship at all, or in a relationship with Brian?
In a relationship with Brian.
My personality is high energy and in your face, but it also tends to be impulsive.
Randy told Brian she needed space.
If he sees a problem, he immediately attacks it. And I was like, just stop.
So they split up. It all boiled down to a clash of personality.
I am far in the extrovert camp, yeah.
And where are you on that scale?
I always considered myself an introvert.
Understanding personality types can get complicated. Simply put, extroverts tend to be charismatic, while introverts are quiet types. Extroverts are hailed as good talkers. Introverts, on the other hand, are usually the ones listening. While extroverts recharge their batteries through interaction with others, introverts re-energize when they're alone.
Introverts contribute so much to society because of who they are, not in spite of who they are.
Author Susan Cain wrote a bestseller that struck a chord by bringing attention to the oft misunderstood introvert.
A third to a half of the population are introverts.
The book's success led to a TED Talk speech, which today has over 19 million YouTube hits. Now Cain leads a movement she calls the Quiet Revolution. So in a culture that's long favored the charisma and likability of the extrovert, the introvert has been left on the sidelines.
If you went through the thousands and thousands of letters that I get, the word you would see most frequently is the word permission. Finally, I have permission to be who I am.
Do you think we'll ever get to the point where people are, shushing extroverts at the conference table?
I could see it actually honestly being like a revenge of the introverts.
What are the biggest myths about introverts?
That they don't like people. The other myth is the idea that introverts don't make good leaders. And there's actually data showing that introverted leaders often deliver even better outcomes than extroverted leaders do.
Whether it occurs by the quirk of nature.
Leaders like Microsoft's Bill Gates, billionaire investor Warren Buffett, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, former Avon CEO Andrea Jung, all self-proclaimed introverts. As for the extroverts, Facebook's Sheryl Sandberg says she's one. So do Bill Clinton, George Bush, and founder of Black entertainment television, Robert Johnson.
The main difference is style. Extroverted leaders are strong motivators, quick on their feet. Introverted leaders prefer to think things through before speaking up or moving forward, which is often misconstrued for shyness, even disinterest. When introverts aren't supported, what do we miss out on?
We're missing out on half the population to begin with. Introverts tend to be passed over or not groomed in the first place for leadership positions, and that's one of the things that we really want to fix. How many of you would describe yourselves, let's say, as extroverts first?
That's why Kane has taken her show on the road, speaking to students and business leaders about how to bring the best out of their introverts.
It's not like one is better than the other, it's just that they're different and we really need them both.
And, says Scott Barry Kaufman, this is true in most aspects of our lives.
What about in personal relationships?
Over the long haul, both partners do tend to kind of meet each other in the middle somewhere. But at kind of the earliest stages of relationships, you can have like a very extrovert part, a very introvert part, and they can make a really great match because they are seeing something in each other that they don't have.
Okay, ready, go.
When Brian Baker first laid eyes on Randy Johns
Oh, there he goes again.
in Sacramento, California 2 years ago, it was love at first sight.
I was like, who is that? I would like to meet her.
Yeah, that happened pretty much like that.
We'd like to tell you it was a match made in heaven, but
It felt like we were communicating on different levels, like completely.
A lot of times we were talking at each other, and she was probably doing a better job of listening than I was.
Brian and Randy may have learned that the hard way.
When she broke up with me, like that was a huge moment in my life where I said, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I don't want this to end.
Lo and behold, one of Susan Cain's speaking tours brought her to Brian's workplace, where he had the opportunity to share how her book changed his life.
As I was reading, I was like, oh my God, this is why we're talking at each other and not to each other. Like, I need to listen to her. I need to shut up and let her talk.
This wasn't just a journey of understanding for Brian.
Good boy.
Randy had her own awakening during their split, especially when Brian told her he was moving to Seattle to start a new job.
And then suddenly it hit me and I was like, whoa, he just gave me the ultimate, I guess, space, yeah. I just like fell apart and like saw all these other things that like he contributed to my life and like brought out in me.
And that's how opposites can move beyond mere attraction.
Just because Randy's introverted doesn't mean she's shy or timid. I mean, she's strong and courageous and in some respects fearless.
Shortly after our interview, Brian asked Randy to marry him. She said yes. This time he heard her loud and clear.